Hi, welcome back to a third-person blueprints tutorial. In this tutorial I'll be showing you how to do wall running and make your third-person character run up the wall. I'll show you through this example here. As you can see, my character is now running up the wall, and when I come off the wall he'll jump back down. So to show you the code behind this, I will show you the two things. Here's the wall. It's the collision mainly we're interested in, so you could just apply this collision to this sort of wall and you'll be able to run up that as well. But anyway, I created a separate wall. So on the collision, when the character overlaps, we check if it is a third-person character, and if it is, then we're going to check if he's wall running. Because if he's not running up a wall when he enters the collision, then we want him to start running up the wall if he has enough speed, which is what this second branch is here for on the false. So as you can see, is he wall running? No. Okay, does he have enough speed? If yes, then let him start wall running. If not, don't do anything. Okay, if he is wall running, then we want to reset his rotation so he's back to normal, and then we want him to stop wall running, or you could do that one first and then the rotation. It doesn't really matter. And then in the third person character blueprint we have something a little more complex. Okay, so we use the default movement inputs and then use the get up vector when making the rotation, and use this to allow him to run up the wall and across the wall. And when we begin the event, we set this variable here, wall position, which is a vector, to his default location, just to give him sort of a reference point so it actually has a value. As this world starts in like 0, 0, 0, it doesn't really need one, but if you're using a separate level, it probably would. And event tick. This is the important one. This is called every frame, or you could probably just use a timer from event begin play, set a timer, and use this as a function. But what this does is every frame it checks, is our character wall running? If they are, then we want to set their location to the new location made from the movement input. So obviously if there's no movement input, he's not moved, he'll stay where he is. And then we want to set our movement mode. Now this one we do just so he isn't flying. So if you might have seen a couple other tutorials or tried this yourself, you'll notice that when he's climbing up and down, the character is flying. That's because his movement mode is set to flying as he's now in the air. We need to set this to walking, and then we set his rotation to the building. Okay, I couldn't actually find a way to dynamically change this depending on his view. I tried, but I honestly didn't get enough time to figure out how to do that. So that's all there is to it. Okay, so here we are in our third person blueprint. And first things first, we're going to create the wall. So very simple, we want right click in here and then basic blueprint class, actor. I'm going to name this wall and double click on it to open, and I'm going to add a component. As you saw, it was just a simple cube, probably y value of about 0.1, x value of about 0.75, and it looks like a wall. There you go. Now we need to go down to collision, box collision. We just want to edit this a bit, scale it up. And as you see, it goes a bit past the wall, so we'll scale it in. So I'm just going to do this manually, set it to about 1.6. It still goes about the wall a bit, 1.5. Yeah, that'll be fine. For this, 1.6. Yep, okay, I think that'll do. And then on the cube itself, I want to block all, dynamic. On the box collision, I want to search for CCD. This is continuous collision detection, which just continues to check if there's an overlap event or not, just to make sure that the actions actually occur. And then we'll just have overlap all dynamic here. So now we'll go to the event graph. And we want to left click our box, right click in the event graph, and find on component begin overlap. So we have to left click the box because this is context sensitive and we're looking for a collision event, and it's this one here, add on component begin overlap. So now when something overlaps with our box collision, it's going to check what it is. It's going to carry out this procedure. So we're going to go from the arrow and do cast to third person character, and our other actor should be the third person character. So this is checking, okay, something's overlapped with the box collision. What is it? Is it the third person character? If it is, do this. If not, then do whatever we take off there. As you can see from my example here, if it's not the third person character, we don't want to do anything. Okay, so this is all we can actually do for now, because we actually need to set the variables up on our third person character. So I've just opened up the blueprints here and it's gone straight to the event graph, which is very useful. And I'm going over to the variables tab here and adding a new one. It's loaded up a boolean here, which I'm going to call boo wall running. If you're on an active session and you create a variable, it will go to the previously made variable. If you open the blueprints anew, fresh, like I just have, then the default variable type is boolean. Okay, to change it is this variable type drop down menu over here, and again we want boolean. Compile it and we can check its default value, but we want it set to false. And then we want a new one. We want wall position, and this one we don't want as a boolean, we actually want as a vector. So using the drop down menu, we're going to change that to a vector, and we'll keep its position to default and compile. Okay, so back to the wall. Now we've got that set up, we can come off this cast third person character and use a branch. Because as our third person character, now make sure you're dragging off this as third person character, otherwise you won't get the options I'm getting. We want to get boo wall running. We can only get this value off the third person character. So now it's going to check if we're wall running. And as I said before, if we're not, we want the character to start wall running. If we are wall running, then we want to stop. So I'm going to go from false and I'm going to do branch. And what I'm actually going to do here is, like on the previous one, you can see I check the actor's velocity. So I'm going to, as third person character, get velocity, and then I want to get this vector length here, return the length of this return vector, and this returns a float. So now I want to do greater than. So float greater than float, and I want to check if it's greater than, let's say, 500. If it's greater than, then we want to set our wall running to true. So again, our third person character, set boo wall running to true. However, if we already are wall running, then we want to stop wall running. So from here, we want to drag off this and do set, or we can just Control C and Control V that one actually, and connect it up to the third person character, otherwise you'll get an error, and set it to false. And like you saw my other one, we're going to set our actor rotation to 0, 0, 0. So that's the wall set up. That's all we need to do with the wall. The wall is done. Now we want to do the movement. So I'm just going to drag this out over here and make it a bit larger. And like I said before, we want to get our up vector. So we'll just type in get up vector. And this is going to see, are we looking up or are we looking down? So now we want to do a vector multiplied by this axis float here. So we do vector multiplied by float, and we get our float value. So this is just going to add the movement like this movement input here, and then what we want to do is actually do vector add vector, because we want to add these two new vectors together so that we increase or decrease in height. Okay, so coming off here, I then want to get a branch, and I want to get my wall running, and that's our condition. And if we are wall running, then I want to set my wall position to this new position. Okay, so now what's happening is it's going, okay, so there's movement input. So if they're moving forwards, let's see how far they're moving forwards, whereabouts. So they multiply that together. Let's add that onto our z height. Are they moving up or down? If they're moving up or down, then we set this to our new wall position. Okay, so now our new wall position will be further up or further down. And the same is actually just flipped for this movement input here. Okay, so we go like this, input as normal, except there's the only difference is we want our wall position. So we get our wall position, and we're adding to that because we're going left or right this time, not up or down. So we'll add that to that, and then we are set. Except, like this one, we just need a quick branch just to make sure we're actually wall running. Okay. So now we've got this. There is actually one more thing we want to do. From using this wall position, we want to do event begin play, and on event begin play, I want to set my wall position to my actor's location. So I want to get actor location, and I want to set my wall position to that. So now we have our movement. So now we can move up or down, left and right on this wall. So now we need to actually be able to wall run. Event tick. So every frame we want this event to take place. So first off we need a branch, because we need to actually check if we're wall running. Before we do anything else, are we actually wall running? So that's our condition. And then the next thing is, if it's true, then we want to set our new position, so set actor location to this new wall position. If it's false, we don't want to do anything. Set movement mode, character movement, and I'm going to set it to walking, and then we want to set actor rotation. So now we just want to place our wall in our map. As you can see, it's a bit small, so we'll just scale it up a bit. Hit play. Now when I walk into this wall, I should have started climbing. Okay, I believe there was one step we actually missed which caused some issues. What we want to do is set our wall position equal to the new actor's location. Because otherwise they'll be adding to the original. So to run up the wall, there is a few things we need to change here. Okay, this multiplication, instead of getting the forward vector, we want the up vector. So the up vector goes into the top here, and the float goes into the bottom here. And then instead of adding onto the up vector, we're taking the result of this and adding it to the current wall position. And then after the actor location, we want to set our movement mode, and then we want to set our actor rotation. And this rotation can change. Again, it should really change dynamically, but this is what I've found to work. Compile and play. And now when I come into contact with the wall, as you can see, I'm running up the wall, I'm running right, I can run left, and when I come out of contact with the wall, I drop down. So again, there's a few errors in this, like for instance, he's running through the wall there, and when using the camera you can run forwards and backwards, but for the most part, it is a nice, simple way to create a wall running mechanism. Okay, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you disliked it, give it a thumbs down. If you opinions it otherwise, if you have any advice or suggestions, leave it in the comments down below. And as always, don't forget to subscribe. Thanks. Bye.